The day before one of the world's most challenging timber races, the Maryland Hunt Cup, jockeys do a lot of walking and climbing, but no riding.
Pick the ground that you think looks best to ride across.
25-year-old Bethany Baumgardner wants to get to know every inch of the 4-mile course, here at Worthington Farms in Baltimore County, home to the prestigious race for the better part of a century. She says the trick is to leave no fence unclimbed.
So you walk right where you want to ride, and then you can go home at night and dream about the exact place you want to ride, where you're going to go.
But Bethany had been dreaming about this race long before she became a contender.
This race I've been coming to since I was little, and you'd see these horses and these fences, and it was just unfathomable that people can do this.
Last year was her first try at the Hunt Cup. After a heartbreakingly close finish, Bethany and her horse, Imperial Way, were named runner-up. Not a bad showing for a beginner, and that close brush with success left Bethany even more determined to cross the finish line first this year.
I might be a bit more comfortable this year, but the strategy remains the same. You got to be careful. You can't ride these fences cocky. It won't work.
In timber racing, a type of steeplechase in which horses jump fixed obstacles like fences, the Hunt Cup is one of the highest honors, in part because it's got some of the highest fences. Successful jockeys must guide their horses over 22 jumps, including some nearly 5 feet tall.
It's seriously demanding. Last year there were 15 starters and 4 finishers.
The Hunt Cup began in 1894 as a competition between 2 Baltimore area fox hunting clubs to prove which had the better horse and rider combination. Today, it's also about tradition. Kerry Jackson was part of it before he was killed in a car accident in 2011.
Top on his bucket list was the Maryland Hunt Cup, always had been. He rode in it, his father rode in it, his brother rode in it. After he was too old to ride in it, of course he had a number of horses that he, as an owner, ran in the Hunt Cup.
He rode in the Hunt Cup 3 times. He finished second once, but was never able to win, as a rider or an owner. The year he thought he had it, 1951, his horse stopped at the 19th fence. Kerry always said that when he died, that's where he wanted his ashes spread.
So we did. And it was his children, stepchildren, grandchildren, friends, and we took the box with all the ashes in it, and we took a great big silver serving spoon, and we all took turns. We'd get a big scoop of the ashes, and we would throw them over the fence and say, "Get over that fence." And we got him over that fence, so we always laughed about we got him over that fence.
This year, Anne is entering one of her husband's horses, Raven's Choice, in his honor.
He always wanted to have a horse for the Hunt Cup. That was always his goal, one way or another.
On the afternoon of the 119th running of the Hunt Cup, the conditions are ripe for Bethany to claim a spot in race history. The weather is mild.
April is always a pretty month to see the countryside, see all the horses.
The spectators well prepared.
We have fried chicken. We have potato salad. We have some bacon cheddar biscuits that we made.
And Bethany is just the right mix of keyed up and focused.
Thank you, thank you.
We're going to pack all our tack together, go weigh, and then head down to the barn, saddle, and have a quick jocks meeting to address any questions any of us have.
Jockeys in this race have to be amateurs, but very talented ones. The rules state that jockeys must weigh exactly 165 pounds. No more, no less. That means Bethany will have to carry a lead pack in her saddle to increase her riding weight. By the way, remember that horse that beat her by a nose last year? Guts for Garters and jockey Jody Petty are back again, hoping for a repeat of last year, save for the close call.
I have a little more confidence than I did coming into it last year, but, like I always say, there's a reason why they post results after the race, because anything can and will happen, especially in this race.
We have riders up for the Maryland Hunt Cup.
If anyone knows that to be true, it's Will O'Keefe. He's been announcing the race for the past 21 years.
You'd be surprised how many close finishes there are in the race. You know, that long, that demanding, etc. You wouldn't think that you'd have battles to the wire.
Just about everyone who comes to the Hunt Cup has a favorite. Although he's strictly impartial during the race itself, Will admits he too has a horse that he'd like to see win.
I would love to see the horse that was second last year, that lost by a nano fraction. I'd like to see him run well and win.
Our 11-horse field now lining up across the course.
It's finally time for the horses to gather at the starting line, which is really more of a general area at the far end of the farm.
And away they go.
And suddenly, it's go time. After all that practice, all the dreaming about how to handle these jumps,
Raven's Choice on the outside, Imperial Way is there also.
now Bethany has to sit back and rely on Imperial Way to clear the fences.
You don't want to make any last-minute adjustments. Give the horse some confidence going into it. Find a spot that you're happy with, find a spot that your horse is happy with, and just hang on.
Joshua G. opening up by at least 40 lengths.
A horse named Joshua G takes an early strong lead, while the rest of the contenders, including Imperial Way, Guts for Garters, and Raven's Choice, hang back, pacing themselves.
Let everyone go out in front of us and do their thing, and he just keeps picking away at the fences, gaining ground with a huge gallop on him.
Imperial Way starts to pick up speed.
Imperial Way now going to the front. Raven
And where this pair came up painfully short last year,
Imperial Way on the inside. Guts for Garters in there. Imperial Way now going to the lead.
this year,
Imperial Way.
they go the distance.
What a way to break the pace.
It's sheer joy for Bethany and her supporters,
How was it?
Hold on, just a second.
but it doesn't last.
Where's my stick? Not till I got off my horse and I went to pull my tack off, I noticed I was missing my weight, my lead pad.
As Bethany weighs in, it's clear that lead attached to her saddle to keep her riding weight the same as the other jockeys had fallen off during the race. Minutes later, a new winner's announced, the former runner-up, Raven's Choice.
It's not the way I'd like to have won. I mean, I prefer to finish in front. It's got to be heartbreaking for Bethany.
And it is.
With a smile.
Yet she's still proud of her horse.
He always gives it his best. And in his eyes, he finally won a race today. It was incredible, like, to win the Hunt Cup.
But in a serendipitous twist, Bethany's heartbreak also means Ann Jackson's Raven's Choice will take home the Hunt Cup. 4 years after his death, Kerry Jackson will finally have a win.
It was really something that he had always wanted. And so for me to go out the first time with this horse and win the Hunt Cup, you've got to think it's a little, kind of everything coming around full circle.
And as for Kerry Jackson's final resting place, his nemesis, that cursed 19th fence, it's that exact spot where Bethany lost her weight pad. Speaking of Bethany, was there ever any doubt that she'd be, back in the saddle? Of course not.
So hopefully next year we can sort it out, get it right. Third time's a charm, I guess.